So this weekend is my read-a-thon weekend. The structure of this read-a-thon is that starting Friday evening after I get off of work, all the way to Sunday evening, my goal is to literally do nothing but read books. I will be sleeping. That's not a part of the read-a-thon. It's not gonna be like 72 hours straight of reading. And I want to do like these little read-a-thons once a month. So really just designating one weekend every single month to just like do nothing but read. Typically, I do my grocery shopping on the weekends. I've decided that quite clearly I need to do grocery shopping during the week, which I don't typically do. I think I'm gonna do it Friday morning just because I actually really enjoy going to the grocery store when like absolutely no one is there. Tonight, I'm gonna make my grocery list and then I'm gonna take you with me grocery shopping. So y'all, God killer thus far. I am at the beginning of chapter 6. I am pretty sure we have met all of our main characters thus far. So I am at the very beginning of chapter 6 and we have met all of our main characters. I'm pretty sure we've met all of our main characters. Thoughts and opinions at this point in the book. First off, super good, really well written. Sometimes I find that fantasy books are the writing style is almost too florally, so you just kind of get lost in it and you're just like, I don't even know what the heck you're talking about. That is not the case with God Killer. Not at all. It's a very, in my opinion, easy read. One thing I will note about this book is if you know Kayla, hi, hello, welcome, my name's Kayla. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that oftentimes one of my biggest complaints with books is one of two dilemmas. Dilemma number one is time hops. I can't stand time hops, and I especially can't stand time hops when they aren't like laid out specifically without like the label of like, this is present day, this is past day, this is 1982, this is 1995, this is 1600s, you know. Another one is character flipping. Personally prefer one perspective when it comes to a book, especially if I grow fond of one character over another. There was a book called The Butterfly House by Katrina Engbert, and it was a two-perspective book. So every other chapter, it would tell the perspective of one character, and the other chapter would tell the perspective of another character. And I quite literally probably only truly read half of that book because one of the characters' perspectives, I couldn't stand that character. I would like really breeze through that character's chapter while getting really involved in the other character's chapter. So that's one of my biggest qualms with perspective that's one of my biggest concerns when there is perspective changes happening throughout a book, is because I'm biased. I'm a biased, flawed human being. And sometimes there's just characters where I'm like, I do not give a singular crap about your story. Next. But thus far in this book, while there are character perspective changes, so far I like all the characters. I'm really quite fond of every single character thus far. I will note that at this point in the book, we have had 4 character perspectives introduced. So that's one thing to note. If you are like me and perspective changes aren't your favorite thing in a book, you might not like this book, but I will say so far I have found all of the characters that we are seeing their perspective of. I am fond of them as characters. I will note the prologue. Here's my thoughts and opinions on prologues. For the longest time, I used to always skip prologues because I was like, this isn't really like pertinent information that I need. Because there have been a couple books that I've read recently that have prologues where I read the prologue and then I go into reading the book and I was all like, that prologue wasn't really needed for the storyline of the book. Do not skip this prologue, because this prologue really does lay out kind of the foundation of the rest of the book. Like you get a sense of one of the characters' background and honestly kind of a sense of what is going on in the entire book through the prologue. So don't skip the prologue in God Killer because you really do need it to understand what's going on. Y'all, also not me, like literally about to check out and forgetting I am out of almond milk. Now we're headed to check out. Y'all, the back of my trunk is such a hot mess right now. Like I always think it's cleaned and squared and good to go, but then I actually go to put stuff in it. And I'm like, how the heck did you get so dirty, my dude? When did this happen? Welcome to the first official read-a-thon weekend of 2024. I did all my grocery shopping. We are good to go. And now I'm heading home. I'm super excited. I am gonna go home, bake some coffee, do my work day, and then I will see you guys when I start the read-a-thon. So I am done with work and I am in the middle of like wrapping up the last load of laundry I have in the dryer. While I was working today, I was actually listening to the book Murder Your Employer Volume 1. And without giving any spoilers, I would say I really enjoyed like the first half of the book, but I have about a third of the book left. And from halfway to where I'm at currently, it's gotten boring, in my opinion. I just feel like throughout this entire book, there's actually been a lot of characters introduced, but specifically in this section, I feel like we're getting even like more people introduced, and it's just kind of like, I feel like my brain's going everywhere trying to like keep up with the amount of information that's being thrown at us, and I feel like the additional information that's getting thrown our way is just boggling me down. So I took a break from that, and I'll probably listen to it sometime this weekend just so I can finish the book, because I have maybe like less than 20 chapters left, which is a third of the book left. But for physical books, I am reading God Killer, and I am not very far in it at all. So I'm hoping to for sure finish this book this weekend. And then I also have a stack of books that are just kind of like 2 reads if I get to them, right? I am not thinking that I'm going to read all of these books, but we have Medusa by Rosie Hewlett. I learned about this book through, oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. I'll include it on the screen. I love her videos so much. She's a booktuber and she kind of specializes, I would say, in fantasy books, but she reads everything. And apparently her patrons and her are reading this book, so I figured I would pick it up. It's pretty short and it's about Medusa apparently, and I love, first off, Medusa in general, but just Greek mythology. And if you guys also know any books like in regards to Egyptian mythology, I would love that, because like 5 to 10-year-old Kayla was obsessed with Egyptian mythology. Next we have Girl in Red. Oh, The Girl in Red. And it is a play on, as you guys can tell, Little Red Riding Hood. I was actually recommended this author in particular, Christina Henry, by a sales employee at Barnes & Noble. So we were just talking about murder mystery books back in December, and she was like just throwing out so much information. I was like, oh my God, lady, I just want to like hang out with you and write down a list of all the books you're talking about. But she specifically recommended the author. She didn't recommend this book, but I grabbed this book just because I was like, I like Little Red Riding Hood stories, so that's on my list. Then we have Butcher and Blackbird, and I heard about this book from Katie Colson. This is my very first Book of the Month Club book from January. This is my January Book of the Month book, And then my February one is also in this stack. So this is a creepy romance, is how I'm going to explain that one. Then we have They Drown Our Daughters by Katrina Monroe. I actually went to a book fair in the Twin Cities last fall, and it was so much fun. Oh my God, I'm so excited for 2024's book fair. And because it was literally a bunch of publishing houses that are local to Twin Cities, there was a bunch of authors. So Katrina is local to Minnesota. And first off, this cover is stunning. Apparently, this is a very creepy book. I remember because Katrina was at this book fair and she actually signed this copy of the book. And I remember there were 2 books of hers that she was there selling. One of them was like more just fantastical ghosty vibes, and the other one was like actually very creepy. And so I can't remember if They Drown Our Daughters was the creepy scary one, or if the other one, I can't remember. It had something with graves in it. If that was the creepy scary one. But nonetheless, cover stunning, and I can't wait to read a book from a local Minnesotan, you know? And then If We Were Villains is actually a book I started last springtime, early summertime, and I never finished it. It was a book I checked out from the library, and I just didn't finish it in time for the checkout date, so I returned it, and clearly it stuck on my brain, so I decided to buy it for myself. And also just a stunning cover. And apparently ML Rio, she has a second book coming out this year. It's not a series, it's not a duology. She just has a second, I believe it's just another standalone book coming out this year. And then finally, my February book of the month club book is Heartless Hunter, The Crimson Moth, Book 1 by Kristen Ciccarelli. And this is supposed to be, actually I don't remember, there's like 3 books on February's book of the month that I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. Oh yes, so this is a romance book, but it's about a witch who falls in love with a witch hunter. So enemies to lovers say who. Pretty excited to check out this book. But that is my current read-a-thon stack. I have no intentions of finishing this entire stack. But I do for sure at minimum want to finish God Killer and at least get a decent chunk through one of these books. I mean, there have been times in my past where I've literally read 3 books in one day, so it really just depends how gripping the book is. I'll also note with readathons and just reading in general for me, I have no qualms and no problems with setting a book down and saying, you know, this just isn't the book for me. So who knows? Maybe I'll get halfway through God Killer and just be like, you know, this just isn't the book for me. But I've heard so many great things about this book. And so far, again, I'm not very far in it, but so far it has been pretty good. At the end of the readathon, I will definitely give you guys like a wrap up of the books I did finish and what my spoiler-free thoughts were on those books. My laundry should be done any moment. Okay, I lied. I'm still listening to Murder Your Employer. I'm pretty sure I have like a chapter and a half left. And oh my god. You guys, it got so good. It got so good. I'm literally like crying right now in this current chapter. It's so good. It's so good. It definitely had a lull kind of moment, but that lull literally ended as soon as I complained about it. And oh my god, it's so good. I just really hope, like, again, I have a chapter and a half left, and I kind of have a hunch how it's gonna end. But it's so good. It's so good. That's all I can say. It's so good. I'm gonna go finish this book. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. I just woke up and took the girls out, and before I start cracking away at God Killer, I have a load, and by load I mean loads, of laundry to fold and put away. So I'm gonna get that taken care of so that like just everything is done and I can just literally spend the rest of today and tomorrow reading. Yesterday I did finish Murder Your Employer. Really cute. I have some thoughts, but I think I'm gonna do like a spoiler-filled book synopsis of that book, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to make a coffee, espresso, something. I'm gonna make something to drink, and then we're gonna crack away at laundry. Right now. I took a little break from reading to make some lunch and take the girls out. I had a couple packages come in. Yeah, I just feel like I'm sweating my butt off. I turned down the thermostat a little bit, but I do have like a fleece on. I could easily take that off. I have sweatpants on, and I have like these comfy cozy socks on, so I'm like wearing all these layers and just like suffering through it, being like, so why is it so hot? 1 second, y'all. That's yummy. I took my socks off, and honestly, I feel 10 times cooler. When in doubt, take your socks off. God Killer so far, loving it. I'm definitely appreciating not listening to audiobook. Also, the narrator of the audiobook, I was listening it like sped up to I think 1 point. I hover between 1.5 and 1.8 when I listen to audiobooks, so I was in that realm. Not too fast, but just, you know, fast enough that I don't have to listen to their pauses. But literally at the beginning of every sentence, this narrator would take a breath, and so sped up it was all like,
and they all lived happily ever after. The end.
It's like very noticeable breathing. Anyways, so that was taking me out of it. But I am at the beginning of chapter 13, and our quest has begun. Really great so far. I really like the characters in this book so far. They're all very, in my opinion, fleshed out. There's definitely some backstory that I'm hoping to gain, but I feel like we'll just gain that as we go throughout the book, because throughout the books thus far, like, you've always learned a little bit more about each character. So this is fantastic. I love it so far. And I've actually, so I went on a tangent about how I don't like books that have multi-perspective chapters or layouts. This book, this author does it so well, and I'm finding that I really appreciate the different perspectives. I'm hoping to finish this book today. I think that's doable. I don't know if I'll start another book today, but I will for sure be finishing this one today. So I'm gonna finish my salad and finish this book. I was falling asleep last night trying to finish this book. I have about 80 pages left. Not even 60. I have 68 pages left. It's a good book. It's a good book. It's a good book. How do I say it's a good book without giving spoilers? I have felt all the feelings in this book. I will say though, one thing that I think I'm realizing that with fantasy, the one thing I'm not the biggest fan of, the world building aspect. Is it nice to know that they're walking in this city that's literally a city on a bridge? Yeah. I don't need this whole descriptor of everything. I don't know. There's just certain world building aspects that I'm do I really need to know that? Yes, but no. But if you're gonna tell me, can we have an illustration? Anyways, this is a really good book. And one thing I will say though, and I don't know if this is going to give anything away, but I'm going to say it anyways. On the back descriptor, right, it says that they're joined by a disillusioned knight on a secret quest. I'm not gonna lie, I always thought that said delusional knight. So that's my complaint. Kayla doesn't know how to read. If it was a delusional knight, I'm not seeing that. I'm like, in no sense is Elo delusional. Anywho, I will be finishing this book today. And I don't know what book I'm gonna start next. I might start Medusa next. I might start something else next. This is Binky's. I have 25 pages left and I don't want to finish it. It's like so good. It's so good, but I don't know if it's 5 stars good. It's so good. And the reason I don't want to finish it is because I don't want it to end. And the second one doesn't come out until March 12th. So I may have done a little cuckoo bananas thing just now. I may have purchased a limited edition copy from the UK that's supposed to ship in February, but it's being shipped from the UK, so you know, international shipping is hit or miss. It is going to be a hardcover, which is kind of sad because buying a hardcover of this one at this point in time, like the cheapest one I've seen is $70. I also just so I had matching, I did buy the paperback of Sunbringer as well, so it's a good book. So good. I feel like that's all I've been saying about this book this entire time. So good, so good, so good. I need to just let this sit and I'll come back to it at a later date. I tabbed the bejesus out of this. So I'm gonna go back through my tabs, do some highlighting, do some jotting down some thoughts, opinions, and then I'm gonna create a video regarding like a breakdown of the entire storyline, characters, spoilers, everything. Just all of the feelings. I felt all the feelings. Don't ask me how many times I cried, because it was a lot towards the end. Yep. I'm about to start Medusa. It's a much shorter book, and by much shorter, I think it's 100 pages shorter. One thing I wanted to note before I hop into this, these book tabby dabs, I'm going to link them down below. I got them in actually a really decent sized pack with like a plethora of colors. But the one thing I liked about it is because of the like material this is made out of, it was a really great bookmark to use while not only reading the book and using the tabs, but also these are just kind of great notebooks or bookmarks in general. Anywho, to Medusa we go. Okay, Medusa. I am 40 pages in thus far. I'm not a fan of the narration style. Like, the story thus far is interesting, but the way it's being delivered, I kind of hate. Because it gets into really eloquent, like, storytelling, and then the narration breaks the fourth wall, and those fourth wall breaks are so jarring that it's like, I was just reading such a lovely passage. And now, like, there's this really blunt and direct, just like, you're being attacked. So I'm not loving the narration style. Will I probably plow through this because honestly, it's kind of an easy read? Absolutely. But will I enjoy it at the end? To be determined. It is almost the end of Sunday, and the likelihood of me finishing this book today, probably slim, but I mean, we'll see how far I can get. With that noted, I did finish the audiobook version of Murder Your Employer. We already spoke about it. Loved it. It definitely had like that lull halfway through, but then it picked up and it got really good again. God Killer. Obsessed. obsessed. I can't wait to read Sunbringer. As I noted earlier, I already purchased a special edition hardcover of Sunbringer as well as the paperback version of Sunbringer, so excited for both of those to arrive. And then I'm also contemplating buying the special edition hardback of Godkiller from the same publishing company as the one I just purchased, except I would be buying it used, and it's $100. I'm gonna think on it, probably gonna buy it. I'm obsessed. Feeling meh right now. Feeling meh. That's all. It is Monday morning, and I wanted to do a quick wrap up. After we last chatted about Medusa, I didn't touch this again. I actually got sucked into watching a sporting event, and I just, at the end of that viewing, we went to bed, and I just didn't touch this. I do want to keep reading it because I want to give it more of a fair chance, but as I noted yesterday, it was just like the narration style is not the greatest. I think it has an interesting, unique storyline and perspective for Medusa, one that, as the book likes to point out often, has never really been told. But it's just the narration style is getting really, it's not my favorite. But anyways, that is the end of this month's read-a-thon. I plan to do more of these. These are kind of like reading vlogs, but in the sense of there's no guarantee, Medusa, case in point, that I'm gonna finish all of the books that I start. And not in the sense of like I'm DNFing this, but in the sense that it's the end of the read-a-thon. Whereas I think reading vlogs will definitely be more like, here are X amount of books that I'm going to read, and let's read them together with my random updates as I get further into the books. And you will have resolution at the end of it. So that's all I really got for y'all today. I hope you enjoyed this read-a-thon. Let me know if this is a style of video you guys even like. I'm gonna be doing read-a-thons no matter what. It's just a matter of like, if you guys want me to share my read-a-thons with you. So that is it. I'll catch y'all around.